My name is Chжan, and I am working at the Department of Foreign Languages and Interpreting at Sarsena Amanjolova, East Kazakhstan State University. Today we are going to speak about some aspects of interpreting of literary text. The goal of our lecture is to learn how to analyze the literary text, giving information about the author, time and place of action, and characters. Let us see what is necessary for interpreting a literary text. Only mastering clichés and stereotype plans cannot help successfully analyze a specific literary text, since in each case it is unique, with its own author's intention and artistic embodiment. Performing a full-fledged analysis requires a culture of reading, observation, aesthetic flair, and of course, good knowledge of the target language. In addition, very often an obstacle for a student is a lack of understanding of literary concepts. At first, the analysis deals with more general things, such as information about the author, time and place of action, characters, plot and composition. Then, at larger stages of working with the text, the student thinks about the problematics and idea of the work, about the role of artistic techniques. Today we're going to speak about three things: information about the author, time and place of action, and characters. The texts offered for analysis do not always belong to well-known authors. But even if you have any information about the writer, do not rush to demonstrate your erudition in full in the analysis of the text. Information about the author should be relevant, useful in discussing the time and place of the action, the techniques used, the issues raised. For example, to understand the text A Very Short Story by Ernest Hemingway, the fact that 6-toed cats lived in Hemingway's house does not matter. On the other hand, the following information is very important. The writer was a volunteer on the Italian front during the First World War. This is how we determine that a military hospital in Italy is described in the story during this period. Second, Hemingway, like Fitzgerald, wrote about the representatives of the so-called lost generation, people who, after the First World War, often tried in vain to find their place and purpose in life. And he was looking for the cause of this lostness. Third, the writer is known for his use of the iceberg principle in his works. The text, which at first glance seems very simple, in fact contains several semantic layers. So keep in mind that only relevant and important information about the author should be mentioned. Well, thinking about the time and place of action, ask yourself the question: are they important for understanding the work, or the story could have happened in any era and in any country, like Cinderella, Romeo and Juliet, Crime and Punishment? It is also important to think about the function of the details the author focuses on, like landscape, room decor, sounds, colors, weather. They can serve to create a realistic atmosphere, create a certain mood in the reader, or be a means of indirectly characterizing characters. Well, here the phrases are given which can be useful in describing time and place of the action. It should be borne in mind that the time and place of the action can be important to different degrees. So in the following example, the scene is more meaningful. Analyzing an expert from Breakfast at Tiffany's novel, it is necessary to collect all the details and proper names that prove that we are talking about New York. At the same time, it is important to comment on what significance they have for characterizing the characters, creating the atmosphere, and for the problematics of the work. The historical time is rather vague. The main character of the book Breakfast at Tiffany's recalls how he first arrived in New York at the beginning of the war. At the same time, the novel was released in 1958, and the famous film was shot in 1961 and rather reflects the atmosphere of 1960s, not 40s, paradoxically reminiscent of the 1920s shown by Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby. However, the text emphasizes the season, which must be taken into account in the analysis. Characters can be characterized directly or indirectly through their actions, replicas of other characters, appearance, speech characteristics such as the use of dialectal or reduced vocabulary or accent. Characters can be well-defined or round, complex, undergoing internal changes, or simple, flat, built around one character trait. There is also a protagonist, antagonist, and a character that sets off the characteristics of the protagonist, so-called foil. The protagonist is usually the main character. The reader tends to sympathize with him, to some extent identifies with him. This hero of the work is not necessarily good. He may be in a moral search, but it is important that his throws are interesting to the reader and arouse sympathy. The antagonist usually cannot be called good or bad, but he is in one way or another opposed to the protagonist, which serves as a source of conflict in the work. Introducing a character that sets off the characteristics of the protagonist into a narrative is a beneficial artistic technique that helps to show the protagonist in the right light. For example, Dostoevsky's novels, are characterized by a number of such characters, reflections of the protagonist. In Miss Brill by Catherine Mansfield, the author uses various ways to indirectly characterize the main character. Everything is important. The change in her mood, her age, profession, nationality, her clothes, especially the boa, the syntactic features of her internal monologue, the stories of bystanders, the place and the time of the action. So these phrases you may find useful in characterizing characters of the text. So today we have discussed some aspects of analyzing a literary text. First, when speaking about the author, try to mention only relevant, useful information. Second, when speaking about time and place of the action, keep in mind those things that are important for understanding the author's intention. Collect some details the author focuses on. Remember, time and place of the action can be important to different degrees. And the third, in describing characters, mind the antagonist, the protagonist, and the foil. Try to find their direct or indirect characterization in the text. That's it for today. See you later.